Hi, welcome to Loft 801. My name is Diego, and today I'm talking about Death of a Unicorn. For me, this movie lands somewhere between fun idea and this really should have been better. There are things I genuinely like, such as the premise, some gory set pieces, the wilderness setting, and some flashes of style, but I also found the characters grating, the satire shallow, the CGI uneven, and the tone way too Marvel quippy for what it's trying to be. Quick heads up, this review will contain the occasional minor spoiler, so if you really want to be surprised by murderous unicorns and Big Pharma, please come back after you've watched the movie. At its core, Death of a Unicorn is about a dad, a daughter, unicorns, and a house full of very rich a-holes. We start with Elliot and his daughter Ridley driving out to Leopold Wilderness Reserve, a remote mountain estate owned by billionaire pharma mogul Odell Leopold. The opening shots of the mountain are legitimately beautiful and they really sell the feeling that they're going somewhere remote and untouched. On the drive up, they're distracted. Ridley is your classic punky, moody Gen Z daughter. Elliot is on the phone trying to juggle work and parenting, and they plow straight into a unicorn. Instead of dying, the unicorn's horn glows and Ridley touches it, getting blasted into this trippy cosmic vision where she's basically yeeted through space and time. While she's in that weird spiritual trance, Elliot panics and kills the unicorn with a tire iron. They drag the body to the estate where they meet the Leopold clan, Odell, his wife Belinda, and their son Shep, and a collection of scientists and security who all basically exist to be greedy or die horribly. The unicorn's blood turns out to be a miracle juice. Ridley's acne and scars disappear. Elliot's eyesight and allergies clear up, and even Odell, who's sick and frail, goes full Benjamin Button. His cancer goes into spontaneous remission. From there, the Leopolds do what rich movie families always do: immediately start talking about how to monetize this cure for only the most important people. At the same time, the movie drops little sprinkles of unicorn lore from Ridley. The movie then shifts into siege mode. EMF readings spike, the Aurora Borealis basically parks over the estate, and the power goes out. Turns out, the parents of the dead unicorn are not happy with how their baby has been killed and desecrated. On paper, there's some cool thematic stuff. I love how Ridley's mom is dead and she's clearly still processing that. Elliot's confession to her that he failed his promise to her mom adds a layer of guilt to his choices. Unfortunately, this attempt to deepen the story still feels a little shallow. Additionally, Odell is basically a cartoon of a pharma billionaire replacing his head of pharma when the science doesn't immediately cooperate. As a result, the eat the rich commentary never quite lands. The idea that unicorns were historically much darker in folklore is a unique and interesting idea. I like how they're treated more like griffins with a brutal family revenge instinct and not the rainbow innocence we commonly see. The problem for me is tone. This movie wanted to be biting, heartfelt, majestic, suspenseful, and funny all at once. Again, on paper that sounds interesting, but in practice, the tone constantly undercuts itself. You'll have a pretty gnarly kill, like a scientist being impaled by a unicorn horn, and then someone drops a quip that feels ripped from a Marvel screenplay. There's also a line where Ridley calls the rich family fascists, and it just comes off cringy. Which, speaking of Ridley, I found her character to be incredibly annoying. She's moody, pretentious, and constantly treated as if she's the only morally awake person in the room, even when her warnings are vague and unhelpful. Honestly, I'm really sick of the know-it-all Gen Z girls. Jenna Ortega gives a good performance, but the way her character is written makes her one of the most annoying representations of Gen Z. I completely understand why nobody in the movie listens to her. If I was there, I would probably tune her out too. Paul Rudd as Elliot is a sweet, slightly frazzled dad who just wants to keep his daughter safe and keep his job. He gets a few moments where that warmth comes through, like when he genuinely tries to comfort Ridley or when he admits that he's sorry he's the parent she's stuck with. But I'll be honest, I didn't care that much about Elliot either. It took him way too long to see the error of his ways, and he made a lot of stupid decisions in this movie, basically up until the climax. I mentioned the ridiculousness of the Leopolds, but there are some fun moments there. I like how Téa Leoni gets some nice deadpan lines and how willpoulter is the most entertaining presence as Shep. His energy livens up scenes, especially when he's nervously hot tubbing or spiraling on unicorn dust like it's coke. His comedic timing is great. However, again, going back to my complaints about the Leopolds, they're never written like actual human beings. They're rich, dumb, evil all the time. This movie would have been much more interesting if the rich people had actually been competent, but still overwhelmed by the unicorn's power. Instead, they're mostly cannon fodder with quips. Oh, also, before I forget, one of the best characters in this movie is Griffin. He's a side character, a staff member, but he was incredibly funny and believable as a guy who just wanted to survive and go home to his kids. So in general, I'll say that the cast is solid, but the characters are not. When it comes to the cinematography, I enjoyed the visual polish. The mountain landscapes are gorgeous, the Leopold estate looks isolated and expensive, and the nighttime sequences with the Aurora Borealis and flickering lights have real atmosphere. Adding to the visual flair, the gore is nasty in a satisfying creature feature way. People people were impaled and innards spilled out. The movie leaned into splattery fun, and I appreciated that. But then there's the CGI. The unicorns look good in certain shots, usually when they're partially obscured or lit from behind, but in full body, brightly lit shots, they sometimes feel like they've been composited in. As a result, very early on, the visuals feel janky. Even when the unicorns go from vengeful specters to the white stallions we know, their transformation looks corny. It doesn't feel like A24 spectacle, but rather low-budget B-movie. World-building-wise, I wish this movie had gone further than lore dumps from quick Google searches. There's this implication that unicorns resurrect, that their horns carry souls or memories, that their wrath is a cosmic consequence, but the movie never fully connects the dots. What I would instead like to see is a period piece medieval horror where unicorns are vengeful specters. I think that would be much more interesting, and if the film were to lean purely into horror, it would excel. On the music side, the results are fine. The score supports the movie, leans into spooky, whimsical tones when needed, and ramps up tension during unicorn stalk sequences. However, it's nothing remarkable, and I certainly wouldn't listen to it on my own time. Sound design, on the other hand, is where the horror excels. The distant horse-like cries echoing through the woods, the thud of hooves around the estate, and the crunch and wetness of the kills all land pretty well. When the movie wants to be a creature feature, the sound design helps. Death of a Unicorn is one of those movies that sits frustratingly in the middle for me. The idea is super fun, the setting is gorgeous, and there are flashes of creativity and style that almost elevate it into something special. But the uneven tone, Marvel-style quips, shallow satire, janky CGI, and grating characters really hold it back. I love the concept of unicorns as cosmic, vengeful creatures, and I respect the ambition of trying to blend grief, myth, and ether-rich commentary, but the execution never quite gels. Still, despite all of that, I didn't hate the movie. I had fun with the creature feature chaos, the gory kills, the wilderness vibe, and a few great performances. So if you're in the mood for an A24 monster movie with an identity crisis and some truly wild unicorn mayhem, this might be worth a watch. Just keep in mind that the premise doesn't fully live up to its own potential. Thank you for listening to my review of Death of a Unicorn. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like and hit subscribe. If you did not enjoy the content, I hope a unicorn gets you. As always, I would love to read what you have to say, so leave a comment and let me know what you're thinking. Also, if there's something you want to see reviewed, don't forget to let me know and I will do my best to get to it. Lastly, if you want to see some more from me, then you can check out my vlogs linked up above or my podcast Good Friends. Again, thank you for watching. My name is Diego and I will see you next time.